My name is Ahmed Tolba. I am a professor of marketing and the chair of the Department of Management at the Onsi Sawiris School of Business at the American University in Cairo. I teach marketing strategy, among others, and this is the course that I usually introduce Markstrat simulation in. So I teach it at the undergraduate level, at the MBA, at the executive MBA, and I've taught it several times at the corporate level as well. Well, it's interesting because I've been working with several corporates, and some of whom were durable or fast-moving consumer goods companies. So because I've been using this Markstrat for long, so I introduced it to them, and they got excited about it. And one of the corporates who was taking the EMBA, one of the corporate leaders, took it with me, and he loved it. So he decided to introduce it to his less senior team. And I started to introduce it to one team to another, and step by step, it started to become popular around. That's a very important question because this is the challenge in facing simulations. Sometimes some participants are not the same level as others. So if you form teams, maybe some of them may be more dominant. We face this in class, but we usually have a full semester to manage. But when it comes to 4 or 5 days, you need to manage the team very well. You need to distribute the team in a way that does not lead to domination so that people get isolated. Maybe some people get frustrated with not understanding quickly like others, so they start to not to participate enough. So I do a lot of effort in doing that, making sure that I present heavily at the beginning, make sure that everybody is there. I meet with each team on a regular basis to face that challenge. That's number one. And the second challenge is the quantitative skills. Some of the participants are more savvy than others. Usually I encourage them to try to develop it. And when I find somebody not that savvy, I sit with them. I try to give them some tips to make it happen, because the key is not to utilize Excel, but it's rather to understand how this affects the decision-making process. Yes, I've only used Markstrat in corporate training. I'm not aware in depth of the others. I'm aware of the existence of others, but I have not used them. I'm excited to use some of them, but as you know, when something is working very well and you are mastering, and you have some people who want to learn it, I go for it. But I've learned the digital and the circular Markstrat too, and I'm aware of the others, and I'm interested to explore more, especially the shorter ones that could be easier to grasp and easier to implement. I have a couple of situations. So in some situations, I'm only asked to go for the simulation to build the marketing strategy around. So this is one situation. Some companies knew about the simulation. They know that this is exciting. I tell the management about it, and they like it. So they say, okay, let's do it, and let's build this approach of teamwork and a decision-making process and the business acumen building together. Sometimes, and that's more common, that I build a marketing strategy program for, like, say, a week or 10 days, and the Markstrat being a second part of it. So I build the foundation if the background of the people is not that strong in marketing, and I start building some analytical and quantitative exercises so that they understand, and then the simulation comes after. And in the example I'm using right now in the banking industry, I'm developing, along with another colleague, a full program in marketing that is quite long, and the Markstrat being a last part of it. So we develop a full-fledged program similar to like a mini certificate, something like that, and I included at the end after they have learned and grasped a lot of concepts. So there are different ways, but usually it is the Markstrat being the last part, and the foundation of marketing strategy being the early part. At the beginning, of course, if they have not heard about it before, they are slightly worried. They would say, maybe I will not be able to do well, or what is this, and how is it relevant? If they've known about it, probably through the word of mouth from previous participants, they start the program with a lot of excitement. So what I do is I try to tease them with the simulation at the beginning of the overall program, and tell them that there will be competition and the team will be winning, and you need to understand and build certain skills. So I get this excitement early on, so that when we start, they come prepared and ready to go. But definitely it differs from is this the first time I've not heard about it before versus there is some kind of background before. Every time it's an incredible experience, I have to tell you, whether it is like young undergrads to high-level corporates. They are excited about the results. So they work very hard together, and then they start talking in making sure that nobody hears what they are saying, and closing the doors, and nobody is there to listen to, and so on. But the standout one is when the results are issued in round X. So especially at the latter stages where the results are close. So I remember a standout funny moment where I was issuing the results, and one team was second and another team was first, and they reversed the rank at the very end, and how they were. They are high-level participants, not young ones, and they were just hugging and celebrating, and the others were like so miserable around and so on. So it really builds a very nice mood in the room, especially that it's around thought process, and how the others that lose, they look quickly, they go to the computers and look quickly at what's the reason for it. So they want to analyze because they got so immersed into the simulation. So maybe that would be a stand-up moment. Yeah, I have to be honest. In my opinion, Markstrat could be useful to any industry. So that's maybe the misconception that a lot of people do not get. Usually I worked it in classes, and I worked it in companies that are more fast-moving consumer goods or durable goods. They were more receptive to it because they felt that it's very relevant to their businesses. However, in the banking, the hard part is not the learning that they get. The learning that they get is guaranteed, but it's about the leadership of the bank or the company, because they are the ones who have the vision of, I'm not offering a technical program that will be applied to day-to-day work, but I'm rather developing the strategic thinking, the decision-making process, the problem-solving skills of my employees, and I'm elevating their level. And I'm also building, if they are smart, they bring in people from different areas that work together, and then they build this bond by working together in an experiential atmosphere. So I was blessed with the leader in that bank who had this vision, and I asked explicitly, do you want the content to be only focused on the banking industry, or overall that can reflect on it but through skills? And he was very clear, no, I do not want examples. I'm an ex-Procter & Gamble, so I asked them, do you want examples on the banking or examples from most industries? I have some from FMCGs. And he said, no, let's go for overall. And that, I think, is the key. So the entry to some industries that are not exactly the same is based on the thought process of the leaders, and they understand that Markstrat is not about the industry application, but rather about the thought process and the way their minds develop through business acumen and building business skills. And I think after the first time, based on that expert leadership of that manager, I think that it built this mindset. So they understand that the simulation is very, very useful, and their human resource team really was committed to continuing with the simulation rather than focusing on other modules. Absolutely, this is big time. I love this simulation because of that. I've been using it for long, for young undergrads or for grads, because there is always the problem of confusing strategy with planning, and this drives me crazy because people always look at the short term and they think that they have a strategy while they just have the thought how to implement what we have right now, and they do not look at the long-term implications. And once they work into the simulation, they really think strategically, they work together, and their decision-making process is much, much better. I tell you something I do with the simulation that I think I invented that, and I think it's been very, very effective, especially for young undergrads. and MBAs, but it could be used for corporates if time allows, and I get like 5.5 days instead of 4.5. I ask them after decision 5 to develop a midterm presentation whereby they analyze their performance and competitors' performance over the past 5 rounds, and they develop a strategy for the coming 5 rounds from 6 to 10. And they develop, like, they forecast their profits, their budgets, they forecast what competitors may be doing so that they have a well-set plan. And once they finish that, it's exhausting to them, but once they finish it, the following rounds become easy, and they get a feeling of how building a solid strategy that is grounded based on data and competitive analysis leads to knowing what you're doing and focusing at that time on tactics that makes them work rather than always challenging their strategy and direction because they don't have a clear one. Decision making is a huge outcome that I see because I meet with the teams, and when they ask questions, or even we set meetings for the team to discuss their thought process, and I see how making decision is hard. Sometimes the students or participants, they think about ideas, but they do not commit to something specific. So doing that is critical. And of course, the learning outcome of being analytical, the data analysis, this is not easy because they have something specific and they have somebody else who a competitors who interact with them. So this is another huge skill that is there. I also want to focus on something non-technical, which is the teamwork and the collaboration together. It's unbelievable. So you see teams bonding because of that. You see participants learning from each other, and that's part of the experiential learning. So I believe this is priceless, that a learning outcome is how to work in team and how to have different opinions, and they can listen and then come up with the optimal one together, whether it succeed or not, but over time they start to respect each other and listen more. So also this is a priceless kind of skill, because this is huge for successfully working or joining the workforce for the first time. A part of it is bonding with each other and working together. That's a huge impact. Second is that they became less intimidated with quantitative skills if they don't have one, but also appreciating marketing and marketing strategy, because some people think that it is more theoretical. And when they see the application, I always tell them that it has to be scientific, based on data, analysis, the quantitative analysis. And many people do not understand that, which is amazing to me. So these are the two things. This is the perspective of what marketing is in reality, rather than just what is in the book. Even case studies are not enough, because when you introduce case studies, they look at it as a story, but they do not get involved by hand in implementing. And also the working together is the bonding is incredible learning experience to them as well. It's for professionals, first of all, they have their day-to-day and they are immersed into the day-to-day activities. So they don't have the luxury of thinking strategically for long. So for professionals in particular, especially these are 4 or 5 days consecutive, they get out of this mindset of troubleshooting and getting what they do regularly and the routine, and they think about a problem, and they solve, and the problem gets solved within 4 or 5 days. So they live a certain time that maybe they never experience. If you are at the early stage of your corporate life, you're still into the more of the implementation. And if you are in the middle, you build strategy, but it takes a lot of time until you see the results. When you have like 10 years passing is incredible. So I guess that's something critical to them. And when they get out, their strategic thinking starts to become much stronger, and they start listening to others and looking at different perspectives in a short period of time. And that's priceless in my view. Well, I'm very impressed with the Stratex simulations. First of all, not just because there are so many, I've used only one and I've observed others, but I like the professionalism of the team, the responsiveness of the team, fantastic whenever there is a problem. And also I like the interface, the speed. It's web-based, of course, but it's really rich and well designed and very easy to use. So I believe that the customer service, the responsiveness, as well as the effectiveness of the simulation. Of course, not to mention the quality of the simulation. So the simulation quality is very, very high. There are several options, so you can select from, and there are several simulations too. But I personally like the way the web it's done on the web, the way it is designed in a complex yet doable in a very effective and time. And the customer service and the responsiveness is fantastic. So I really appreciate what Stratex is doing.